I guess whenever they ask me to give an opening keynote speech about any conference, I know myself well, so I say they start with the worst speaker first, and they know that after that anybody would be so much better, so you have to forgive me up front. It was interesting talks about failure, and why is it so important to talk about that? In 1997, I had been asked to become advisor to government of Singapore to bring innovation economy to Singapore, and I served in that role for about 5 years. And in my first meeting with the top officials in Palo Alto, they said, what is the most important thing you believe we should do to bring innovation there? I said, you need to create a culture that celebrates failure. And the topmost official almost fell off his chair and said, we take a lot of pride, we are Asians, we are Chinese, and we commit suicide if we fail. How could you ever talk about that? Well, I told him a couple of stories. I will tell you one of them, and convinced them, so we made a compromise. They were not willing to celebrate failure, but they agreed to celebrate the entrepreneurs that had failed and then had become successful. And we called that the Phoenix entrepreneurs. And we designed a nice statue called the Phoenix Award, and we gave it to the entrepreneurs who failed, didn't give up, and then became successful. But why is failure and the celebration of failure so important? We all have dreams, right? Paulo Coelho says that every one of us has a childhood dream, a childhood mission. If you have forgotten about that, go back and think about it. Remember when you were a kid, what was your dream? That is your life mission. Don't let the adults who told you, stop dreaming, forget about it. Don't let them win. You have to follow your dream if you want to have a happy life. So what was my dream? My dream was, I remember distinctly, when I was 8, 9 years old. My family would be having a party. They're all sitting around enjoying their life. And I would not participate. I felt like they're wasting their time. And I would come and sit there looking at them, and they say, what's wrong with you? Come and share the jokes, have the things. I said, you're wasting time. I said, why? What should we do? I said, my dream is I'm going to go and bring peace in the whole world, change the world. They look at me and say, okay, first have your dinner, and then we will talk about it, and whatever. And are you sure you are our child? I mean, and in high school, I was a huge failure. I suffered from a mild form of, I guess, ADD, and I didn't want to sit in the classrooms long. I did not have patience. So I graduated from top high school in Iran. I was born in Iran. Tehran, with a C+ average. But I had a dream that to make my idea happen, I had to go to America. Because at that time, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the high-speed access so you could learn the things that you wanted to do. And anything that was invented at MIT or Stanford or whatever, it would take minimum 10, sometimes 20 years before it would make it to an Iranian university. So I had to go to America to have a chance to realize my dream. And I told my parents when I was 17, I'm following my dream, I'm going to America. They said, you have a very poor academic record in here. None of our relatives have ever gone to America. We have never gone there. if you don't know anybody. I said, I'm going to do it. And God knows how many ups and downs I had, but I finally got accepted to a university, not very good university. And I improved, upgraded, went to a better one, and then a better one, and a better one. And what was amazing was I didn't give up. And I went from being a horrible student in Iran to go and work full-time in America. At times I had 2 jobs, and yet, because the situation was different, and I had the freedom to sit in a class or not go to the class. Think about that freedom and how I could study on my own. So guess what? By age 20, I had 2 bachelor degrees. And I was not even 22 yet, I had my master's degree in computer graphics from the top school that invented computer graphics. So following the dreams and being prepared for failing in the way, as long as you see you're making progress, is very important. Now, let me talk about one of my biggest failures at the beginning. I got my master's. I went to work at HP, Hewlett-Packard, corporate engineering labs in Palo Alto, very prestigious, nice place. I wanted to go to the top school, Stanford. They had a class that would teach you how to design chips. This was 1979. There were less than 1,000 chip designers in the whole world. And at HP, we had 30,000, 40,000 engineers. Majority of them were system engineers and software engineers. So I was a 25-year-old kid, and I went to my boss, boss's boss, and whatever, and I said, I have a great idea. You pay my tuition to Stanford, you give me half time off, and you let me go to Stanford, learn chip design, because I had software engineering and computer graphics background, and you can send cameramen to videotape this. We can document this, and we can learn from this experience and have 1,000 chip engineers at HP, rather than 30 or 40 that we had. And we could become a very, very advanced company. This had to go all the way up to the top management of HP. They were very happy, surprised a young kid has got this idea. And they said, so what would it require? I noticed there was a lot of interest. I said, you also have to give me a promotion. So they did. So I went to Stanford. I met these 2 professors, and took about a year. I learned whatever they taught, and the chip was fabricated. It came back. How many of you think this ended up in a good ending? The darn thing didn't work. And there was no way around it. You know, I go and I talk to the professors, and I said, you said any software engineer or system engineer can be a chip engineer. Why is my chip not working? They said, any good software engineer, you are not so good. And I had these people with cameras documenting all of this. How could I go and tell the bosses that the chip is not working? So if you are a normal person, yeah, you could commit suicide, big failure, you have lost faith, all of those kinds of things. But if you are an entrepreneur, you say, oh my God, what an amazing opportunity. Time for promotion. So guess what? I went to my boss and I said, I have good news and bad news for you. he knows me. He says, tell me the bad news first. I said, the chip is not working. He says, oh my God, you are going to be fired. I'm going to be fired. Everybody is going to be angry, all of these things. And I said, but there is good news. He says, what? How could there be good news? I said, we are HP. We know how to make engineering workstations, computer graphics. I had designed for them CAD/CAM systems for mask designers. And I said, it's time. I know we can make workstations for engineers using computer graphics, advanced simulation methods, give feedback real time. This was a crazy idea. And I said it could create a multi-billion-dollar business for us. And he said, no, I'm tired of your bullshit. No. I said, come on, all you have to do is give me another $500,000 budget, 4 more engineers, a tiny little promotion, and I will make this thing happen. He said, no. He said, if you don't do that, I select the best engineers, and I will go and start my own company and do this. And he said, no way, nobody will follow you. Because I was the youngest engineer. I was 26. All my engineers were older than me. He said, no. And they were all much better engineers than me, too. So I went and I talked to 5 of them. 4 of them agreed to join me. And we went and gave our resignations. So this shakes the whole group and say, the boss says, go, we don't need you, whatever, go. The boss's boss is a very, very interesting guy. I respect him a lot. He has over 1,000 engineers working for him. He says, I want to take you to lunch. So he takes me to a Chinese restaurant, and he says, do you know the statistics of startups? Now, you have to remember, this is 1980. And I said, what are the statistics? He says, half of them fail in the first year. 90 to 95% of them fail within 3 to 5 years. Why do you want to go and start a company? I said, I don't know. And then he says, you think I'm a pretty smart guy? I said, oh yeah, you're very smart. He said, you think I'm a good leader, a good manager? I said, yes, you are. He says, I tried twice to start a company, and I failed both times. Why do you think you will be successful if I fail? Now, again, if you're a logical person and you look at the statistics, you would say, yes, he has a point. But entrepreneurship is not about the facts and about statistics of the past. That's the past. Entrepreneurship, high-tech entrepreneurship, is about disruption. It's about creating new rules, new methods, new markets. But he was so convincing, and I respected him so much, I didn't know what to do. I was a confused kid. I always believe that if you follow your dream, the universe will give you signals. So what do they bring you at the end of Chinese food? Fortune cookies, yes. I opened my fortune cookie. I couldn't believe it. I started laughing. He says, what does it say? I said, I can't tell you. He says, why? I said, it's very embarrassing. You are not going to like it. He says, come on, let me see. So I give it to him. He reads it out loud. He says, do not listen to him. You will be successful. That's all I needed to know. The universe had spoken to me. So to make a long story short, 3 years later, HP wanted to buy the company for $50 million. I arranged a meeting with executive vice president of HP's biggest competitor at that time was Tektronix Corporation. And they came and they said, we want to buy your company, because they were competing neck and neck. And the name of company was CAE Systems. This was 1984. And he said, we don't want to go into a bidding war. What price do we have to pay you so that you would accept tonight or tomorrow when we give you the price, and no bargaining? I thought, okay, HP does not like to bargain either. Maybe if he pays me 51 million or 52 million, then there would, HP doesn't like to bargain. I said, you really want to make sure there is no bargaining? He said, yes. I said, 75 million. Next morning, offer comes for 75 million, we sell the company. Then I think, I was stupid. I should have said 1 billion. So, that's the story of my failure. But I wish I could say that was the end of it. I started 9 more companies after that. And guess what? 3 of them were failures. A couple of them were pretty significant failures. Even though I had 3 multi-billion-dollar IPOs also, my companies generated over 8 billion in stock market. But 3 of them were failures. And I celebrated every one of them, because I learned so much more every time I failed. And twice I was fired, even though I had such a successful track record. Because when you follow your dream, you accept it that you are going to face the failure and find a way, what you can learn from it, move up, and get better next time. Thank you very much.